Hello, hello, konnichiwa, buongiorno, wherever you are. I am having a chat with my good friend Hannah Sinclair from the other side of the pond in New Zealand. She is so interesting to chat with, and we had a chat last week, and oh my God, I wish I recorded it. And me, but we're going to give it another whirl. And that's because our chats are always interesting. And I just figure, hello,
Hello!
can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Oh, how's sunny New Zealand?
Ooh. We've just had about 4 days of a severe weather event. There's been flooding, and yeah, some people have actually had to leave their homes,
Oh,
be evacuated. Yeah, it's pretty tough, and it's in the region that I'm in, but I'm fine.
wow.
But yeah, it's been very wet. So today is the first sunshiny day in a while. It's really nice.
How good is it after you've been indoors and water and kind of that flat funk when the sun
Yeah.
hits your face again? Isn't it like,
Oh, so nice.
thank God? Well, enjoy the sun
Thank
while you
you.
can.
Thank you.
What have you been up to? I'm always curious. You always do fun, interesting things. Or
Mm.
think fun, interesting things.
I've been stepping into my owning being a projector.
Oh,
Um, yeah, a human design projector, obviously. So you know how I just started this job recently, and my boss said, "Come in when you want, go home when you want, have a long lunch break, take as many breaks as you want." Like she just said all this to me when I was being employed, and I was like, "Really, really?" And I think it's just shocking, like how conditioned I am, because I've been going, I've got to get in early and I've got to work till 5 p.m. and I can't go home early. Um, and it's really, I've just been watching it and laughing at it and watching how I must have burned out in the past. And
mm,
so the first few weeks was this play between me wanting to impress, and I haven't worked for anyone else for about 3 years. So the weird thing is when I'm working for myself, it's totally easy. It's like, yeah, I need to have a nap, I'll have a nap. Um, and feeling a little bit of guilt, like, oh, I'm not working hard enough, but kind of like, oh, the benefits outweigh the the angst.
yeah.
But when it's someone else, like it's so easy with open sacral to be conditioned. And so I'm sitting in an office with two people who I'm pretty sure are generators. I could be wrong, but they are just head down, bum up all day, and it doesn't seem to affect their health. Um,
Mhm.
and I've got about a 20-minute scoot home. And by the time I get home, I'm like, oh, I've just got rid of that energy for the day. Like
Yeah.
it's quite angsty, anxiety. Like I can feel it all, and I'm sitting in the two in between them, and it's okay. Like it's one of those things I'm handling. But I started noticing I was slipping back into old work habits, and so
Mm.
this week I just said to my boss, I'm going to take Wednesdays off completely, which I had sort of talked to her about before, but I hadn't formalized it. And she said, look, you're employed part time, work as little or as much as you can. And it's so weird to actually hear what you want. And when you've got it,
Mm.
to go, oh my God, I've actually got what I want. And then to
Yeah.
accept that and then take the action. So it is so nice. Like I worked from home yesterday because the office was busy. And then today I'm home again, but not doing any work. And all of a sudden, I just felt all the stress and the worry about burnout. It just went, and so I've just been going, yes, when you're back in the working world, it is so easy to get caught up in those values. Like our society still values if you're not working for yourself, um, out in the workplace, like, oh, hardworking and you're here from these hours to these hours and this is this fixed homogenized view and it's still out there and I've been disconnected from it from so long and it was amazing how
Yeah.
I got caught up in it. Um, So yeah, like I'm still being flexible, and if I need to work back later, I will. But um, just going home early, and I just say, "All right, everyone, I've had enough. I'm going home." And yesterday, working from home with no pressure around me, I only did 5 hours. And like that could be a lot, but look, I've got 5 channels and 5 centers. There's a lot going on here,
Yeah.
even though I'm a projector and non-sacral. And I enjoyed it. And I felt that point where, and you probably won't understand as a non-sacral being, but maybe you will, but there's a point where it's like enough is enough, and you can feel it coming. It's like a continuum. It's like enough's going to be enough in 5 minutes. So I need to wrap it up now. Like, or maybe you get it a bit earlier. For me, it's like a niggle. It's like, I'm starting to feel I'm going to have a mini burnout, like really little, but I've done too much today. So yesterday I was just like, I'm listening for it. I'm listening for it. It started coming. I wrapped up the task. I had energy to interact with my partner, make dinner, all these things I haven't been able to do since I've been back working because I've been burning myself out just in 8 hours. So
Isn't
I'm just
it
like,
interesting?
ugh.
Light bulb.
No, I'm not down on myself. I'm just joking. It's just
But it's
funny.
true. It's so true, the conditioning. I'm with my fifth line, 5-1, I'm the fixer. I can do it. I'm very capable of fixing. So Ollie's ute broke down yesterday. I'll come and get you. Okay, so I'll come and get you with 2 kids in tow. And then this morning he said, I could ride my bike. So he's working at our house. So the commute for it to drive is maybe 15 minutes. To ride his bike is a bit longer, maybe like 20, 25 minutes. He's out of shape. There's zero chance of him listening to this, so I can say this. He's out of shape. He doesn't really want to ride his bike. And if you listen, even Sienna picked up on it. He was saying, I could ride my bike. This will force me to ride my bike. But he never once said, I want to ride my bike. So Sienna said, Mom, I think we should give him a lift in the morning. So this morning we were all up early. We dropped him at work. We were an hour early before school gates even opened. So I thought, well, this is interesting. We might just make a fun morning of it. I'll take the kids to get a hot chocolate at a cafe close to school.
Nice.
And then a few minutes later, the phone rang and it's Ollie. I've got another problem. So there's me with my little fixing. Okay, what do you need? Oh, I've left tools in my ute, which is broken down at the mechanics, which is kind of 2 suburbs away. And there's my body going, I could do this. I could say I'll do it. But I had that feeling, that sacral, enough's enough. I just said,
Awesome.
I can't do it. I can't, sorry, can't do it. And he said, that's fine. And isn't it funny? The minute you sort of shut someone down or you say no, you kind of brace yourself for, I don't know what.
Yeah.
But it's never as bad as you think.
Conflict. We're conflict avoiders.
I know, it seems to be. But I was checking the transits today and the channel of rhythm you have, right? The 15 to 5.
I've
What,
only
you've
got the 15.
Oh, I've always thought you've got that, but you've got the 15. You've got the more fluid one. How do you find, like, the last day or two with that channel in place? Does that affect you? Like, are you more strategic because you've got the 5? Oh,
I've just done so much stuff over the last couple of days.
have you?
And yeah, I haven't had time to check the transit, so that's so cool to hear. But I have felt very much like, this is what I've got to do, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to have a break. Like, it has been very much like that. And thank you for sharing about the sacral. Like, I was just thinking, of course you can feel when enough is enough because you are a sacral being.
And
like,
I just feel, it's like you said, like I think I might just lose my shit. I might scream in 5 minutes. And then I've got Ruben running across a driveway while I'm on the phone, and it's like, enough is enough right now.
Yeah.
Shut this
That's
down.
so cool.
But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The strategy and authority and the waiting to respond rather than me launching in going, yeah, I can fix it. I'll do it. Give me the address. Because it's funny that and maybe it's a female good girl thing. We're eager to please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, we're such conflict avoiders in this part of the world. And I don't know about other cultures. Like, I know I've had some crazy, even more conflict avoidant situations with people from other cultures where it's just like I remember once I was on this yoga retreat in Mexico and everyone else was American. And as everybody sat down at the table, they'd go, "Is this seat taken?" And I'd go, "Oh, no, there's no one sitting there." Like, we call a spade in this part of the world. And they're like, "Oh, are you sure?" And I'm like, "I just want to eat my lunch." And it's this cultural politeness. Like, we actually discussed it because what happened is I got really angry. I was sitting there trying to eat. Sixth person comes up and says, "Is this seat taken?" And I said, "No, obviously not. And if someone was intending to sit there, they'll sit somewhere else. There's enough seats for everybody." Like, I just lost it. And then I said, like, we all ate in this kind of uncomfortable silence. You know, yoga teachers aren't perfect. And I like to own my stuff and bring it up. So about 10 minutes later, I said, "Look, I'm sorry. I've had a cultural moment here. Like, I'm the only Kiwi. I've noticed this thing that people do, blah, blah, blah." And everyone was like, "Well, it would be rude not to ask." And I just went, "Oh, that's so interesting." And the funny thing is, I've actually found North Americans, like Canadians and North Americans, to be so much more direct, usually, about their feelings. Yeah, like I remember when I lived in Canada, there was a guy in the library, and maybe it was a male thing actually, but he was talking to this other guy and he goes, "Hey man, look, on Saturday night," and I'm not going to do the accent, it's just embarrassing, isn't it? But he goes, "On Saturday night, I noticed you were a bit down." And he said, "Is everything okay?" And I was sitting there, like, we have such a macho culture down here. And same in Australia. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, a man is talking to another man about his feelings. And I felt so uncomfortable. And I was very young. Like, yeah, this is 20 years ago. I was a different person as well. But I'm like, this is literally never happened in front of me in my entire life. And so I'm like, "Oh, this is really beautiful." And then, like, we were in the library in the stacks, like underground, where there's little desks and it's dark and quiet and stuff. And I was like, I feel like I'm trespassing on an intimate moment. I started packing up my stuff because it's like, I don't. And then I thought, "Oh no, this is a public place, blah, 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 blah. They should be okay." But, this conflict avoidance, there's so many of us with open emotions, but it's more than that. It's cultural, and unpacking it all is such a mission. Like, you and I are both like a year into our HG journey. And I was reflecting on that this morning. I was like, you can't get too attached to, I have a fixed ajna or closed ajna and you have an open one, therefore we will be like this. Because I think we've discussed before, like, we both see things the same way for different reasons. So like, you're super open-minded and you have this open ajna, but I'm also very open-minded because I've got my gates of diversity and accepting diversity. And I love a good argument and a good analysis. Like, I'm really fascinated by these things. And yet my ajna center is coloured in. And so, I was just reflecting this morning, actually. I was thinking, like, watching human design people on social media, which is not everybody, but getting really attached to, I am like this, therefore this. But there's just so many other factors coming in. And so if you bring it back to strategy and authority, it's just like, let's just keep it simple. What's true for me right now? And then you can start to unpack. And I like a therapist years ago told me this thing where it's like, who's saying that in your head?
Yeah.
Like, the message you tell yourself, is it you? And if it is you, did you learn it off someone else? Or is it society? Like, all these nice things we do for other people so they think we'll be nice girls. You've got to be a nice little girl, It's just amazing. And when you're like, hang on, what if I didn't? And have I seen anyone else do it differently? Like, sometimes it's hard to find role models, but it's like, sometimes you just got to be your own role model.
And sometimes the voice is ancestral. Like, what if it's down your line? It's not just your stuff you're carrying. But my great-great-grandmother, say, maybe she had this guilt that's come down the line. Like, we're carrying so much. I think we're just a tiny piece of it, personally.
Yeah, 100%.
But it reminds me, I'm not going to quote it, this is verbatim. Eckhart Tolle said something like, thank God I am not the voice in my head. I'm the one asking. He's like, I'm the one asking the question. And that's what human design is. It's who am I when no one's watching? Who's the real me without the, I don't know, gridlock in traffic that gets me agitated, or the overcommitment that I put on myself. Like, just who am I? And it's a fascinating ride, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Who am I when no one's watching?
Because it is.
Just a
It
sense
so is, but we're so conditioned, or we give ourselves lists of things to do, and we just lose ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I've just had a lot of people ask for charts again, like a whole wave of people. And I often ask people, oh, let me know where you're at and what you'd like to know about yourself, or it's not predicting the future, but I can help you, come to a better understanding of yourself. And they all just want to pretty much find themselves again. It's like, I don't remember who I am. I'm now a wife and a mother. My kids are leaving home. Who am I? It's there's lots of transitions in life, isn't there? And you like you said, I'm not the Hannah of like 20 years ago when you're in Canada. It's like even last year, you're not the same Hannah.
No.
Really?
Yeah. And the roles that we put on ourselves, like,
Yeah.
I have been reflecting on this so much, because I think a lot of people, not a lot, but maybe a lot, I don't know, but there are people who have found themselves without needing a framework, an external framework. They've just been like, yes, they've done that inquiry for themselves. And I think I've just lost my train of thought. It was a good one too.
That's okay. It may come back as you talk.
Yeah, it'll
It's
come
about
back.
the
We always go
roles.
all over the place.
Yeah, you talk about the roles that we play.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
like there's
I'm
something
listening
about
to you.
this.
I'm listening.
You're such a good listener. This is why we're friends.
And about sleeping. Are you going to say about
Yeah,
sleeping?
the sleeping thing. So I
Yeah.
realized about 5 years ago, before I even found human design, I was like, I need to sleep by myself, and I need to be not just in the next room to someone else, but
Yeah.
quite far removed. And at the time, I had this really cool flat that had 2 wings, and it went round like I actually want to build a house like this one day, but it was like a semicircle almost, and the bedrooms were at the opposite ends, and it was perfect for me. The house was.
Cool.
And I remember thinking, this is so great. And I couldn't put words on why it was, but I remember thinking, I don't want anyone staying here overnight with me. I mean, obviously people did, but it was like I started cottoning on, and then I thought, if I ever move in with a partner again, I want my own bedroom. And so my next relationship that I went into, that I'm in now, I said that up front.
Okay.
When we're dating very early, I said, I have figured out that I do better in life when I've got my own bedroom. And I said, I know it might sound unromantic or whatever, but you're asleep.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people who love sleeping together, they'll say, oh, but you wake up in the night and you give the other person a cuddle, and then they wake up and you cuddle and you like whisper words to each other. And I'm like, that's great for you. Yeah, that sounds lovely, but that would mess up my entire frigging life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not into, I can't do it. And I've learned that through experience. So, but there's these roles that are put on you. And I find it really funny. Like, you watch Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, they had separate beds. Like, this whole sleeping in the same bed thing, it's so fascinating to explore, because it used to be seen as something for the lower socioeconomic people, because they couldn't afford separate bedrooms. And so they all had to sleep in the same bed in the same room. And, it was seen as a very common thing. And rich people had their own bedrooms. And I mean, look,
Right.
that's probably the reality now. Like, I'm feeling very privileged that I'm able to have found a house that's got 3 bedrooms. And, I've been upfront about it with my partner, but there's still this little niggly conditioned thing that you sleep in the same bed as your partner because that's what people do when they're in love.
Yeah.
You know that TV show Married at First Sight?
Oh yeah.
You probably don't. You're way too cool for it.
No. I have seen it. I have seen it. Yeah.
Did you know it's Australia's biggest watched TV show?
I find that fascinating.
I know.
Really?
Yeah. I think I just learned this recently. So I actually watched the last season and it was a total shit show.
Is it in NZ?
Yeah, they've got a New Zealand one.
Okay.
But the Australian one's notorious for drama and the producers very much set that up. But there's so many levels.
Yeah.
Like, you know how I love analysing stuff? I can't just watch it. But there was some really bad stuff that went down this season. I'm not going to watch it again because they put people in situations of risk of abuse. So I will just name that. But I noticed when I was watching it, I was like, there's all these, it's all set up. So you get married, then you go on the honeymoon. You have to share a bed with this person straight away. Like, there's all these pressure put on people. And they've got a sexologist saying, are you guys being intimate yet? And I was thinking,
how's that?
This is actually crazy. Like, you're just really putting pressure on people to possibly not listen to themselves and what they need. And then it all blows up with drama. But I was thinking, what are people sitting back thinking, oh yeah, this is completely natural. Like, these are all the steps that should happen very quickly. And yeah, just thinking about our homogenized world and how hard it is to separate yourself from it. Like, even if you've stepped out, like, I know you stepped out a long time and have followed your own path, and I've been definitely doing my own thing. I mean, we're both defined G, right? So I've been doing my own thing my whole life and still very, very caught up in it. And it's just so interesting. Like, when Ra said it would be 7 years at least to decondition, I was like, oh, come on. I'm a fast learner. I'm going to be faster than that.
Yeah.
So, like, for a few months, I was like, oh, I'm just going to be quicker than everyone else.
Yeah. I can blitz
And now
this.
I'm like, no. Like,
there's
the
a
more
reason.
levels you learn.
Yeah.
Humble pie must eat.
Is that to do with the
What's that?
cells? Yeah. Is that to do with the cells and
Cell regeneration.
regeneration?
Yeah.
Just to be completely free. So yeah, if I've got, say, a 9-year-old daughter, 7 years have passed. That means none of the cells I had when I had Sienna are the same, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating?
That's crazy.
What I find fascinating is I, as a female, carry all my eggs. And when Sienna was a baby in me, she's got all her eggs in her.
Yeah.
It's like the human body, like, we're still finding stuff out about it, like how amazing it is, how certain organs work. Like, the jury's still out on tonsils, if we need them or not. And
You
it's
need
like,
them.
yeah. And other ones, like, what's the other one? Appendicitis, like, you know, when people get their appendix out, it's like, what's that all about? But it's a fascinating thing, isn't it? The body. And then the body's producing all these emotions, and how we're not dealing with emotions much. We kind of shove them down. And we do know if we don't deal with emotions, we get sick.
Yeah.
But it's like, how to? Goodness, it's a hard one. That's why when you're talking about the two males talking about feelings, it's like, why isn't that normal?
Yeah. Look, I think things have changed, but I think still here in New Zealand, there's so far to go. And I think as women, like, we have a raw deal in a lot of ways. But one thing that's really amazing is we are told it's okay to talk about our feelings, even if it's in a negative way. Like, women are emotional, they're hysterical, they're always talking about their feelings. But we're actually encouraged by the dominant cultural narrative to go off and chat to other women about our feelings. Whether it's constructive or not, or whether we have the tools to actually deal with them, doesn't matter. But that first step is taken for us by the environment we live in. Men don't have that. And there's a really good book, actually, you would love it. I've probably told you about it before. Susan Faludi's Stiffed.
Oh, no.
Absolutely amazing book. It's based on America, but I believe we've got quite similar values down here as well. So, yeah, really, really good one.
I would think...
Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's about the role.
role of men post World War II.
Okay. I would think it's hard to be a male,
Yeah.
like really hard. Like in the, say, 1950s, men were quite masculine. They had a role. Women stayed at home. Like there was roles to play. Now it's like women want to go to work and things have changed. And what do men do? Like, men are a human being. Like they're allowed to be emotional. They're not a robot. So all of a sudden it's very, I should read that. Stiffed.
Well, the first book Susan Faludi wrote, Backlash, was about the backlash against feminism. And
Okay.
when she was writing that book, she was interviewing women who were outside of what the homemaker role was in the 1980s in America. And she noticed all this anger in their male partners, like out of control, just simmering below the surface. And she thought, I'm so interested. And what's funny, Backlash is this little book, this big, and Stiffed is massive. Like each chapter is a PhD thesis. It is.
Okay.
She's gone, I'm noticing women are having a hard time, and then I'm noticing men are, and she just goes so much more deeply into it. But the two, look, as gender constructs are breaking down, like this whole binary is going to mean nothing to anybody in 50 years. But it's got to be very painful for people as they're going through. So, yeah it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. What a time to be alive. Go ahead.
Just got so many ideas. You make me think of these things. But do you find you've got two groups of people in your life? Like you've got a group of people who are like, no, nothing's changing. Nothing will ever change. Or it's bad that things are changing. We need to return to traditional values. And then you've got this other group of alternative lifestylers who are like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
And they're just like, sure, everything's breaking down. Let's do it. And they're okay with it.
I know.
Do you think that?
I find that. I'm married to my husband is we've got to go back to the old ways. Like that was certainty. You knew what was going on. But yet they can see things around are crumbling. So it's going to be interesting to watch when things get brought down.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I find it interesting that human design has got that 2027 date, which is, I was never into astrology or anything before, and I'm still not really, because it's a whole other field. I'm like, okay, I believe in the system and I'm slowly learning about it. But I was just reflecting this morning, actually, with the change of seasons. So we're coming into winter solstice on the 21st of June, which is coming up. And I have noticed, what's it?
Your birthday.
Yeah. So exciting. And I've just noticed that on Instagram in the human design community, all these posts pop up around solstice and the equinox, because the four gates of love, the 15, 10, 25, 46, they are all the active gate in the sun on those dates. And so as each season comes around, it's a really lovely time, if you are in tune with the transits, to reflect on the relationship of those different types of love in your life. But what I've been finding really interesting is it's a very America-centric viewpoint, and a lot of these posts will say they'll also tie it into the season. So they'll say, oh, it's coming into summer. What a great time to explore your natural rhythms. And it's like, we're heading into winter down here. And so I've just been thinking, we could feel left out as Southern Hemisphere people. There's less of us in the world. So no one ever thinks about us. But I think it's just this human need to make sense of everything. So it doesn't matter where you live in the world and what the seasons are around you. If you are in America, that is what you will be affected by. And it's just something to remember when you're looking on social media is, what's the context this person is living in? What's their cultural context and what's their environmental context? You're heading into spring, we're heading into autumn. And you can try and tie everything together, but there's just too many threads, which is
Yeah.
why I like just coming back to the gate itself and going, how is this showing up for me right now? Like when we start making these big generalizations about what it means for everybody, we're moving back into homogenization of culture, and that's not what it's about.
Yeah. That's so interesting. To circle back to the sleeping, do you tell people you should sleep by yourself? Because Ra said
No, I never would.
it's
I
a
never
hard
would.
one to navigate, because I've got many friends that are very hippy dippy and they love co-sleeping with their kids. And they've got, a king size mattress and another
Yeah.
mattress put together on the floor, and the whole family sleeps together.
Whoa.
And it's like like that works for them. How could you say, like, I just get chills. I just think how. But and that's funny. If that's for them, they're gonna just do that. Like, but I knew when I first became a mother, I had that feeling this baby needs to sleep separate. Like, she needs her own space. I mean, we're all sacral beings within the household, but I still, when I wake up by myself, it's a different feeling. For sure.
Oh, totally.
And I think what happens is, as a parent, you might end up sleeping with your kid or sleeping on your own. And I think you might end up finding, I do like waking up by myself. Or why would I go back to sleeping next to my partner? So I think the tide's changing on that.
Yeah, like I would definitely mention it, but I think I'd mention it in a bigger, wider context of energy and auras, and
Yep.
just saying, be aware. Like you can look, I mean, Heart Math have got lots of beautiful pictures and things. It's all been scientifically proven. We have an aura, we have energy, and we have different levels of it. And the further you get away from someone, the less likely their energy and yours are going to cross over. So just be aware of that, and it might be that you need one night by yourself to rest when you're burned out, or you might need a week or whatever. I think it was Sam Zagar posted this week about she's wanting to like run away, go on a holiday, and she realized that she lives by herself and she was still getting too much energy coming in. And I mean, look, even just checking my Instagram can stuff me up for the whole day. I have to be so careful, depending on how I am when I go into it. But that co-sleeping thing, it gives me chills. But if it works for them, and I wonder if they have more tribal gates with the intimacy. Like I've got no tribal channels whatsoever, and I've got 3 gates. But the tribal energy is about being up close and personal, touching and holding and being in each other's space. So yeah, I have a friend like that, and she's constantly inviting people over. She has a lot of tribal circuitry. She's always having people come over and stay the night. Like she loves it.
Yeah. That was even like my mum, she's a generator, but split definition. So she was always, come over. Our house was always busy. And as a single definition, I hated that. Like I just wanted my own private space. But it's interesting, isn't it, how you grow up and you think, oh, that's how it should be. The house feeling like Pitt Street Mall with ins and outs and people coming and going. But it just never sat well with me.
Yeah, I feel the same. And I was working with another healthcare professional in Australia about a couple of years ago. And I said, I'm designing my dream house in my mind right now, and whatever I was doing at the time, it hasn't happened yet. And I said, I want to have a spare room for guests. And she said, why? And I said, because it's what you do. You have room for guests. And our house was exactly the same, just people coming in and out all the time. Like, Dad would pick up hitchhikers and take them to Christmas lunch. And seriously, there was always somebody there. And we were known for that. And kids in the neighborhood, if they had trouble with their family, they would come and stay with us. And that was a big part of my growing up. And I was like, that's what I have to be for other people. And this woman got me thinking, and I had a little niggle in the back of my head that didn't go away, because I was like, oh, how rude, You should always have room for your family to come and stay. I said, what do you do when your family come to stay? And she said, they get a motel. And I was like, woo, that hit me. That hit me. I was just like, wow, imagine telling your family you don't have room, and if they want to see you, they have to stay in a motel. And I thought, she's ahead of me where in that journey. But it really got me thinking, because I am drained after I have guests. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm not even sure how we got onto this topic. But
it's all these shoulds, isn't it? All these shoulds, and how we're raised, and how you said before, we're not really shown a model of how it could be different. And so we grow up going, okay, that's what I have to do. I have to have dinner parties when I don't really feel like it, and I have to take in people and help them, and it's not necessarily the case, is it? We never factor in ourselves. How do I feel about that?
Yeah. And I think that's what Ra was saying when he was introducing all these human design concepts. He said, you've actually got to be radical for it to make a difference in your life. It's not just a Myers-Briggs profile, which, by the way, is filled out based on what you know about yourself at that time. So you fill in a questionnaire, and they say, are you like this or like that? If you don't know yourself very well, you're going to get a weird answer. Like, I did my first one when I was 25, and it was all over the place. And the person administering the little chat afterwards said, I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah.
And then I did
what if you're open G?
30s.
Sorry. I was going to say, what if you're an undefined G center?
Yeah. Exactly.
You know? So ask me in half an hour, I'll be different.
Yeah. And with human design, he's saying you've got to be radical. Like, we can do a chart reading for somebody or tell them a bit about themselves. If they just say, I'm a generator, therefore I'm this, and I have a defined ego, therefore this, and I have an open G, therefore this, they're just going to be stuck back in that way of thinking that I've got something concrete to hold on to, and this is how I'm going to be, and they're never going to have to reflect, because they're saying, oh, this outside source told me this is what I'm like. And I see this on a lot of human design forums, and I've actually left a lot of them because it stresses me out, where people are saying things like, oh, I'm this, so does that mean I should do this? And I'm thinking, I know everyone wants everything fast and cheap these days, and you want to do a quick reading and get the information and go, right, that's it. But like for me, I want to work with people who they have that niggle in their head. And when I say something that makes them uncomfortable, they're willing to go away and reflect deeply and say, okay, what's true for me? Do I really love sleeping with 5 people in the room? Do I really deep down love that? Maybe they do, but they're probably not asking the question.
Or maybe they once did, because you're allowed to change your mind. And what if 2 years in you go, actually, this is crap, I'm not sleeping?
Yeah.
But you don't dare say it.
Yeah, or you go away for the weekend by yourself and go, oh.
Life's amazing. It's true. I think you're right, Hannah, in that I find people want to get a chart done. Like, can you do a reading for me? Yep, sure. They just want, to see themselves on a body graph. Thank you. That's a big permission slip for me to be me. Thank you. And I reckon that's great. Be you. But there's also phase 2. Do you want to go deeper? Do you want to be more
100%.
contemplative? Do you want to know about the 4 arrows on the top, which, is like the next progression of it, which is really getting in deep? Because I think people go away with strategy and authority and go, that's a bit boring. I don't really have to do that, do I? That thing of, I can be quick. I don't really have to be emotionally making my decisions. I can rely on good old sacral.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to play it right, and to, if you want to, it's an experiment after all. If you want to take it further, you can, but you can't force people.
No, definitely not.
No. So if they're happy like that, that's it.
Yeah, strategy and authority doesn't sound that sexy, does it? But it's the core of everything, because you're saying, because of the energy you're putting out into the world, this is the way of least resistance to go through. And I remember learning about all the different energies, the different auras that people have, whether they're sacrals defined or not. And it's like, okay, it directly relates to that. Like, your strategy directly relates to how your energy shows up in the world. And just being really gentle about that, and then realizing I have an impact when I walk in a room. Like, I know as a projector, I think I said to you, sometimes people look like they want to run and hide, and all I've done is walk into the room. And I'm looking around with my laser eyes, someone to plug into. And, often in the past, it's been that person with the open throat who is like, yes, attention, this person is going to listen to me, tell me their entire life story.
Yeah.
So holding back a little bit and being like, I'm going to wait for someone to approach me, and I'm not going to be looking around so much when I come in, because I know what happens. I'm just getting less and less of those interactions. Although one of my bus drivers here, she every time I get on, she just knows. And it's weird. She asks me stuff about health. And she's like, tells me all her health concerns. And I'm like, how do you know I have the answers? Like, it's so weird. So it's kind of nice. Like, I always get off that bus feeling successful as a projector, but also a bit like, there's been a bit of takey there.
Can I ask a projector, my favorite projector, the not self theme of bitterness? So as a generator or MG, we've got the not self theme of frustration, and I can relate to frustration.
Yeah.
But when I read about projectors and bitterness, I thought, oh, that's kind of a hard word to have. How do you find that?
I think it's the exact right word.
Yes, is it?
Yep. It's like you spend your whole life and no one's really seeing you, but because you're coming from, you're not self.
Yeah. And is it because, sorry, go ahead. You're the projector.
That's all right. We've got a wee delay.
Yeah.
It's because you have all the answers and no one wants to hear them. And so if everyone's telling you, go out there, make something of yourself, you have so much information to share. You should be telling people. When your friends are talking about their problems, Hannah, be more assertive. Tell them the answers. Like, I've literally had that advice from somebody who was a coach, and I was just like, every time it happens, I get it. It goes down badly, or people don't hear me. And even then, there's another situation that happens where people ask you because they think they should. And this is a weird one. So I had a friend about 3 years ago. He was having marriage problems, and he asked me this question. He said, what do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And me just being me, I said, you need to start turning up. You need to start doing what you said you would do. If you said you're going to pick the kids up at 3, pick them up. If you said you're going to do the grocery shopping, do it. And I just knew intuitively that was what his wife needed. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I never got a thank you for it. And that's the bitterness. It comes in and you're like, I don't feel that was appreciated. And I feel he asked me because he was coming from a place of mind. Hannah will know the right answer, and she knows lots of stuff about relationships and whatever. And so if I ask her, she'll have some good advice for me. And that's coming from a place of ego. So he's drawn to this is somebody who can help me, but it's not coming from a deep knowing of what's right for him. And the invitation's not right. And I know, looking back, when he asked me, I had that yucky feeling. I don't think I should say anything, but I also had all these ideas running around in my head, and I just knew the right thing for him. And so I told him. And he went ahead and he tried this stuff out, and he did call, and he said, oh, so I've been doing this thing where I just do what I say I'm going to do, and it's been working really well. And then he just kept talking, blah, 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 blah. And there was no acknowledgement that would come from me or whatever. And listen, 3 years ago away, on in the future, listen how bitter I am.
Wow. But I can understand that because it's like you're giving advice and there's no thank you, recognition of,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's not coming from the right place. And so I had mostly figured out my authority before I found human design. Like I'd mostly figured out, I'd spent a lot of time working on my intuition. I had noticed it was in the moment. I hadn't figured out it was a one-off thing. Like I still felt jealous because people were like, oh, my intuition keeps telling me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I get a one hit and it's gone. Like, is something wrong with me? Am I not in tune? So I'd spent a lot of time noticing when I hadn't listened, noticing what went wrong, and then knowing that it was splenic and the qualities of that was really helpful. But I'd already done a lot of work. But the authority, sit back and wait for the right invitation, that's been massive, and I'm still working on it, and I'm learning to feel when it's right, and also I'm learning to pick up on unspoken invitations. When someone's literally sitting there quietly and you can just feel it. I need to tell you about this, and it's crazy but it works and everybody feels good afterwards. And so I'm just keeping this mental catalogue of what did it feel like that time and what did it feel like this time, and the bitterness is decreasing. But it is so the right word. It's just this feeling of yuckiness, like, oh, someone just took something from me and they left like an acid wash, like battery acid in my system. That's how dirty it feels. Like it's, yeah, not a nice feeling. Acrid. That's a good word.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks for saying, because I've always thought, wow, that's a hard one to take, like this disappointment for reflectors and frustration and anger, even anger. You're an angry person, manifestor. That's kind of hard to take. But bitter, I'm glad to hear that it's the correct word, because I've always wondered.
Yeah, no, it's, I saw it and I was like, yeah, like it was, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, I don't want to be a bitter person, but I was like, you know what, I am.
Right.
Yes, from time to time. Yeah, so
And
hopefully there'll be, sorry.
I was going to say, can you read when people are being not genuine in asking you questions, in giving you?
Yeah, starting to get better at it. And I've got examples from the past that really help. And one of the clues for me is when they say, I was thinking you'd be a good person to ask about this. And then, well, not necessarily though. It's more of an energetic thing. And it's more of, how do I feel when I get the invitation? And if I'm feeling yucky about it, like even if I have the answer, I put it back on them. Like if my friend asked me about his marriage again now, the same way that he did 3 years ago, I would say, I don't know enough about your relationship to give you any advice right now. And, you know, maybe maybe talk to your counselor about it or something. Like I would step back, because what happened is I put all this passion and stuff that I had in my mind about showing up, which I knew he needed, and he did need it. And I gave him this gift. And I think there's somebody, I don't know if it's Nadia Gabrielle who does Projectors Invited, but she was talking about cooking a meal. Someone was talking about cooking a meal or giving a gift to people, and you put all this effort into it. Who are you going to give it to? And so I've just given him like 100% laser eyes attention and all of my love and care. And if that's not received the way that it's meant to, you do end up feeling very bitter, because you're like, I just gave you, and it's not about tit for tat. It's about, well, it is. It's about an energetic equalization.
Acknowledgement. Yeah.
And it's so easy if you have a projector in your life. You just have to say thank you, and this is the impact on me. Which is funny because impact's a manifesto word, isn't it?
Tends to be. So I've got a lot of questions, and I'd like if you've got feels on it. I've got clients with projected children, and this is a number of them. They're generally a generator, parent, and they've got a projected child or projected children, and they've worked out that the communication style's different, or there's just a different dynamic.
Yeah.
How would you have liked to have been parented, or you having a generator partner, how would you like your generator partner to interact with you? If you've got feels on that, much appreciated.
I do have some feels, and I don't have a child. But what my partner does, it's really beautiful. It's when he remembers, he invites me to everything all day. I invite you to talk to me. I invite you to come into the kitchen. I invite you to talk about the banking.
That's so sweet.
Would you like me to do this for you? That's a big one. That is a really big one, actually. And if you could get your child used to the idea of you doing things for them, it will help them when they're older and they need to employ staff. Because if I didn't have my partner, I would pay for someone to come and do the cleaning, and I'd probably get a gardener in once a month as well. Because I just know that's not a good use of my energy. So that sounds terrible.
No.
That helps. But get them used to using their energy wisely by offering, can I do this for you? So he does a lot of that, which is really lovely. And the other thing he does is occasionally when he needs advice, he will ask and he'll say, look, I've been thinking about this and I'd really like to hear what you have to say if it feels right for you. And you can do that with a child. Like as a child, projected child, I was always wanting to be a part of adult conversations. And I would listen to what was going around around the table, and I would say to adults, oh, it sounds like you need to do this. With the clarity that a small child has.
Can you imagine?
And I got told to get down from the table and don't talk to adults like that. So if you have a projected child and you can say to them, what do you think I should do? And you genuinely want to hear their perspective. I mean, they're innocent. They don't have any preconceptions about how you should deal with things. You're going to get a great diverse opinion and you're going to make them feel good. And the other thing I was thinking of is I saw someone post on this the other day. They had a projected child and they said that they've taught them when the child wants to interact with other kids, they say to, sorry, I just saw that little message come up. I'm a generator. This is so helpful. Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely, Tilby. She had her chart read. That's great that you're getting insight and you're eavesdropping. Yeah, we don't mind eavesdroppers, but it's interesting, isn't it? When did you have any more on that, Hannah?
Oh yeah, sorry, I saw it come up and I haven't been reading the comments, but I just felt it was really nice to respond to that. But this person said with their projected child, they've taught them when the projected child wants to interact with others, all they do is they say their name. So if I was with you in the playground, before I want to talk to you, I'd go, Carla, and if you didn't respond or you ignored me, I know it's not time. And they've taught their child to do that. So, and with their sibling, they had taught their child to say the sibling's name. So one of my siblings is Tom. So I go, hey, Tom. And if he didn't respond, so he has to respond so I know he's listening, that equals the invitation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if he's absorbed in his Lego and he doesn't hear me, I butt out. And that person had taught their kid some really creative ways to get invitations from other people and not feel lonely and like, oh, I've got to sit back passively. And I was like, I can do that with my partner, actually. And so now I say to him, I'm like, Dave, and I can tell by the way he responds whether there's an invitation to interact at that point or not. If there's not, if he doesn't hear me, if he's absorbed in what he's doing, I just kind of leave it. But I also like choose my moments as well. And it's so powerful because then yes, I need to talk to him. I'm not going to never talk to him, but I've created an environment where there's an invitation. When he goes, yes, my love, I'm like, okay, cool. We can now talk. If he goes, yes, I'll go, look, I need to talk to you about something. When's a good time? And there's such tiny little things, but it's about reducing the resistance. And I think one thing I haven't reflected on that I can't answer for you is how would I have liked my parents to have parented me, because of a lot of medical trauma I had as a child. I don't have many memories of being a kid. Like, I know the things I've been taught, like shut up and be quiet. Not that they would ever have said that, but that's the vibe. But I can't put myself back there and go, what did I need?
Yeah, fair enough. Because we've got 5 minutes. We've made the full hour, just about.
What? Doesn't surprise me.
Have you got any feels or wisdom with your Gemini brain as well on, so projector, non-sacral being, generator, sacral being. When you're piggybacking that sacral energy, so when you're in the same room as Dave and you've got all this borrowed sacral energy, how do you empty out later? Or when you guys, separate, is there a process you do? Do you just feel whacked? Are you just like, I've run a marathon, I need to sit down? Like, you tell me what that feels like.
I do if it's been too long. And again, it's the niggle thing. So I start feeling, and I think you see this with kids. So my little nephew is a projector, splenic projector, very, very similar chart to mine, and we've always just got on really well. I can see when he's getting, and I've said to him when I'm looking after them, do you need to go to your room and read a book? And he'll go, yeah. And his other sibling is like, just wants to hang out with him all the time. And it's really cool to see, like, kids don't necessarily know for themselves what they need. And so, again, coming back to the kids, like, if you can say to them, if you feel like you need to get away, that might be something you need to do. But for me, I just go into another room, or I tend to go outside into the garden. I don't have a fixed process. I just trust that within about 20 minutes, it'll be gone. And I think what affects me is if the other person's a bit discombobulated. So if I'm talking to you now, it's lovely and I love your vibe and I love your energy. If someone around me is sacral and they're having a bad day, I find that tends to throw me a bit more. But one thing I've been practicing over the last year is just learning, why am I wiped out today? And when I look back, it will have been even just watching a video by somebody on YouTube. Like, that can wear me out. And so, yeah, again, it's just starting to listen and thinking, you might not have the answers, but just stepping away for a few minutes. Like, sometimes it takes me a good 5 minutes to come down a level. And then there's like all these levels of this. And the exhaustion only comes from people who are not feeling so good in themselves. And they're the ones that when you get in the room with them or you're on a call with them or whatever, you're like, oh, I just want to hang up now.
Right.
And that's something I need to learn to navigate a bit better. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting, Hannah. Thank you. And it's still all an experiment, isn't it? Like, you might have new things to learn next week. Like, or, I'm still
100%.
learning. Yeah.
I know. It's so good to listen to your side of it, being a sacral being. And I have so many questions for you, but I know we talked about this and I was like, I'm practicing being more passive in my environment and leaving space for others to talk. And, but also, like, I want to ask you all these questions, but that's being active. And so it's kind of, I'm playing with it at the moment. But
But I still find that you're a good listener, because I remember you saying, I feel like I'm not a good listener if I'm the one answering all the questions.
Yeah.
But no, you're still present. I can see.
Oh, 100%. I'm so interested.
Yeah, I think there's just so much discussion. We're not promising a weekly thing, but we'll see how we go. But I really enjoy the real-time connection, because I leave you little voice deposits, voice drops, and real-time is just nice as well, even nicer.
It's so good. And I just want to say thank you for inviting me, first off. It's so exciting. But also, like, to talk about human design with somebody, like, at the level I want to talk about it. Like, this is so great because, yeah, like, when we were saying we're loving the messages we're leaving each other back and forwards, it's so much better real time. And I get to see your face and see
thank
how
you,
you're
Hannah.
going. So,
Oh, well, that sounds like a nice finish off.
yes.
Thank you so much for your time and energy today and your insights. You're so wise. I do appreciate it, and I'll pass that on if I can to
Thank
clients
you.
because it's
Yeah,
first-hand information.
feel free. And it's just my opinion.
Oh, and Tilby's agreeing. She's saying yes. He finds it hard if I am having a tough day, complaining a lot. Yeah, that's how it goes.
So,
Humans.
I'm just seeing
And
her. I wonder if we can reply to these later. That makes sense for my partner.
he
Oh,
finds it hard
cool.
if I'm having a tough day because your partner, Tilby, you're saying your partner is the generator because I think you're a sacral, not sacral, you're a splenic projector from memory.
Oh,
I could be
like
wrong.
me.
I read you last year, so I could be wrong. But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, I
yeah.
was just going to say, Tilby, if you had a specific. Oh, no, hang on. He's a projector. Yeah, too hard to look at that, isn't it? Anyway.
He's the projector, and you're the generator, are you? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I can't remember them all, Tilby, but thank you for your patience. But
Yeah,
projectors are
thanks for
beautiful.
listening.
I love projectors. They're my favorite. That's why I like your insights.
And I
So
like
very
hanging
handy.
out with you because you're a happy generator.
Oh, thank you. I try not to be too much. I'm aware of my intensity with my
I
6 to
think it's
5
just
centers.
about right for me. All right.
Oh,
I better go and shake it all
relax.
out before my next phone call in about half an hour. But thank you so much, and let's do this
Thank
again.
you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Hannah. Love to you. Bye.
Bye.